Hello everybody, welcome to a new video. Today I'm just about to be deciding what champion I want to be upgrading next. I want to be assessing what's going to be the best upgrade for my account as a whole, as I am really trying to, well, use the best of my resources to get the most out of them. And we actually have clan versus clan active at a time, so as we're going to be using the Hell Hades Artifact Extractor as we finish up leveling some food champions, we will be doing this decision right live in the video, and then we'll be upgrading it as we are getting some clan versus clan points. So let's go. Before we go any further, please go ahead and check out Aptoide if you haven't done so yet. It's going to be allowing you to get yourself massive amounts of bonuses whenever buying anything in Raid Shadow Legends through Aptoide, right? So just as you are buying a pack normally and regularly, you're going to be able to get a massive bonus that can go from extra 10% of your amount of money you're spending all the way up to extra 35% of that much money. And the good thing about this whole thing is that once you have enough of the bonuses, you're going to be able to use them to make the payments for you instead of actually using your real money, right? So you are saving up in further purchases in the future. We'll talk more about this whole thing at the end of the video. For now, let's keep going. So there's multiple ways we can go about this. First of all, we can go ahead and check out what the best of the champions we have in our vault, what of those have the best ratings according to Hell Hades. It's a way of deciding whether or not they are decent enough, but that's based off of a very subjective opinion and a very, let's just say, closed one where you're not going to be taking into account the entirety of the rest of the champions you have. If you want to join my team in Raid Shadow Legends, click the link in the description to get a free Narma as well as Anax, Uugo, and Mausoleum Mage as you progress through the game. Here's what you need to do. First of all, log out of Platinum Play on PC and uninstall. Then click the link in the description and register a brand new email. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial, and then go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Don't miss out on your chance to get a fresh start in Raid with a free Narma and 3 epic champs. Click on my link right now. So if we go over here to the website and we upload our data first of all to it with the artifact extractor, and I have videos covering that if you're wondering, you can just go to the champion tier list and real quick just select show my champs. This way we're going to be filtering out, first of all I need to log in real quick, and then I'll be able to filter out the champions that have decent enough ratings. So let me click just once again over there, and there we go. That should be giving me now the ratings of all that I have in my account, right? So if I do see something up here that I am not just yet using, let's just say Gracchus, who's valued up pretty high, I do have in my vault, I just recently got it and I'm not doing anything with it, well, I could decide just based off of the fact of this rating that, well, this guy is definitely worth putting into some other teams. And there we go, that's finished up cooking. But just as I said, that is a very closed up and just to say it some way decision, because it doesn't really take into account the rest of my setup, right? So maybe I don't really have a big use for a defensive kind of champion, or a champion that's mainly going to be helping me out in some sort of content like the Hydra, a little bit more end game focus, right? Everything else where I'm still progressing through it and I definitely need some help in other avenues of it, this might not be the best guy for the job, right? Now, the in-game reviews are usually not the greatest indicator of anything, so take everything you're saying here with a bit of a pinch of salt. In any case, there is other way of assessing, well, any of these guys, is it going to be useful anyway, right? Is it going to be useful especially anywhere that I kind of want them to be? And yes, it is, and that is the Team Optimiser, right? So here we go, we are now in the section of the Hell Hades Artifact Extractor online where we can see all the champions we have, right? It's just a little bit of a breakdown where we can see the current gear setup, all that I do have on them at the moment. I can do more things with this, but this is just a plain picture information, anything like that. You can basically see this in-game if you so desired. The thing about this whole stuff is that you can go to the Team Optimiser over here and kind of try to fish for upgrades where you see fit. So I am really interested in pushing my clan boss performance, right? At the moment, I am able to at least, get done a couple Nightmare chests, right? I'm able to fully get the last chest of Nightmare done, but it does take 3 all the way up to sometimes 4 keys depending on the affinity. And this time around, we have the hardest one for me, given the setup that I do run, which is the blue affinity, the magic affinity, right? So I want to be getting this done easier, or perhaps even eventually trying to move into Ultra Nightmare just so I can just try and, get more rewards out of this. The best thing you can do with your clan boss in general is just to go and get the best chest of whatever the highest difficulty you can do is going to be, because believe me, the rewards you're getting out of that is so much better than like get stuck doing hard or brutal, even though you are fully max chesting out these things. Going all the way up to Nightmare and finally Ultra Nightmare is such a big step up in rewards. So let's say I want to be getting some better performance in Nightmare. What I can do right here is just go ahead and click on Find Team. It's going to be loading up some suggestions, and what's that going to be is sort of simulating or just offering me some previous results of what other players have done with these similar teams, right? It's not an actual simulation, and there is also ways of simulating the actual battle in game so we can get more specific and realistic data of what these teams will be looking like. But this is the information that some other players using these same compositions have achieved, right? So we can already based off of like, okay, I have all these champions you can see right here. If I go ahead and max out or at least build up some of them that I do potentially need for this composition, I could be trying to achieve these higher results, right? 33 million damage, that is of course in the Void Affinity. Well, that is very respectable, fairly a lot more than I usually do. Let's go ahead and simulate that in the Spirit Affinity, so I can go back and then try and find the teams right here once again as we put in the Spirit Affinity and apply the filter. That should be changing up the suggestions, and we sort of have a similar picture where this one team is really standing out, right? Now there is also the variations to take into account, which will mean that this is a more popular kind of setup and a little bit more reliable, right? There's going to be things that at some point you will be like having only 4 champions where you don't have the full setup and stuff like that. So ideally in these kind of scenarios, you're going to be having a broad enough pool of champions where you are really going to be able to see a full picture over here, right? So I could kind of go ahead and choose. Now, how would I base my decision on this whole thing? What I would do and what I'm going to be doing is just looking through what I see the most, right? And if I see something that I already have, of course, that's not going to be something that I care about because I already have Alice maxed out, sort of. Negmo is leveled up and fully ascended. Same for Arthur and yada, 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 right? So those champions, I'm not really going to be counting as potential upgrades or, yeah, things that I would put my resources into. So let's just see. Okay, I see the Morak, who, by the way, I'm also already working in, which is already kind of like half upgraded. Only needs to be taken all the way up to, what is it? Oh my god, all the pop-ups, man, this game. It just needs to be taken all the way up to 6 stars and get ascended 1 more, right? So there we go. We could potentially be seeing this champion become a lot more of a beast. And we can see that for the exact scenario that we're trying to achieve, she is very much recommended to be doing so, right? I can see that she's in most of these teams as I scroll down and down and down. I could also do this for Ultra Nightmare just to see what kind of situations I could be getting myself into with the champions that I do have. And this is not taking into account unkillable teams. I don't think so. Like every damage, block damage, and unkillable teams, which will go all the way up to stage 30. They might be showing up here, but I definitely don't have the right pieces for those to be actually put together, and that's why they would never really even be able to show here. So what I can do kind of here is assess. Well, once again, what's showing up here more often than not? I can see Tagore also showing up a couple times. I can see Frozen Banshee in there a lot more, and honestly, I don't see a Kentum over here. I think Frozen Banshee would be a better option for a poisoner, but I already have a Kentum, so I don't know if that would be something that I really want to be putting my eggs into, right? Like the egg basket, because, well, she's a poisoner which only really gets used in Demon Lord or the Dragon Slayer, right? And I already have a Kentum doing that job, so I kind of discard that option. I also see a little bit of High Katoon, but honestly, I don't know if I think I've passed already High Katoon by getting Negmo Thar. I think Negmo Thar does a little bit of a better job than High Katoon kind of does in that regard. It's not the same exactly, but it's a speed champion, which I do already have a very good one of that kind indeed. I have my Deacon Armstrong, which is already kind of leveled up, and I'm really just inclined to be getting Morak done because I also just need more damage dealers in general. And I could basically just be repeating this for any other dungeon there is in the game. If I really wanted to focus on Spider, let's say I want to be doing stage 20. Can I even approach getting a good team for this whole thing? Well, let's just say maybe, I don't know, 100% success rate if I do put together this whole setup in a decent duration. There's a massive amount of variations of this team, as you can see over here, as a lot of people are running this same team exactly, and I could potentially be using something like that. Then there's maybe also something like this, which is a lot more approachable, at least for me, because I already have the Achak upgraded, I already have the Armiger almost maxed out as I can, and then we do have some of the champions, which I would need to be putting some work into. So Miscreated Monster, Ultimate Gaelic, I have all of those guys. I just need to be putting some love into them. I also do have over here the Apothecary with the Deacon Armstrong, Alice, Arthur, Armiger. I have this whole setup that I can put up together real damn quick on a longer duration though, right? So I can do this for any setup that I want. Not sure about PvP, I don't think so. In any case, if you really are trying to assess what a good upgrade would be, this is the right tool to do so. So I am going to be doing the Morax simply because she already has a lot of work put into her, and she could kind of potentially become a champion that I really use in a lot of places, just because I don't really have a big damage dealer that is not just Alice. I do have a Kentum, but a Poisoner isn't really the best option for most places. Anyway, she's ready to go as I already had all the pieces that I needed for the food that I've been farming forever. So let's go ahead and sacrifice all of this stuff and get 1,000 points for the clan versus clan, where we are doing just fine, and we already also have enough what we need for getting this fusion done. So that's going to be another 500 points as we get her a little bit of extra stats all over there, which is always just nice. Now we need to put a little bit of work into the rest of her setup. We do already have the masteries, but we can now finally put the finishing touch in there. And for the setup that I was running on my Morag, I was going to be going for the Helm Smasher, as I want her to be doing quite some more shredding of the target's defense. Not that interested in the boss damage. If I can upgrade this defense ignore just a lot more, I still need to be putting her in some gear though, which is going to be a little bit of an issue, because I definitely wanted to go for some Savage gear, but I just don't quite have the right pieces, and I am going to be moving towards something a little bit weaker overall, because definitely Savage would be ideal on her. I just don't quite have some crit rate gloves on the Savage set, which I really need, because, well, that crit rate is still on the work. So we're going to be finishing this up with some, crit damage gear, as well as, let's see if I can get enough crit rate over there so we don't need to be putting some crit rate gear on her, and we can keep on scaling the crit damage instead. So we're going to be getting these gloves maxed out all the way up to 16, as we already got them on the way. There we go, we get some speed upgrades, a lot of tournament points. We did get some attack, which we, by the way, don't really care about on a Morag, as she is going to be scaling off of defense. That's very important of her. You kind of don't care about attack whatsoever. And I did a little bit of a mistake on the progress towards here, where I did get a little bit too much attack somewhere in some of the spaces. Actually, not that much, but mainly in the weapon, where I did also roll some of that. Anyways, we're going to be switching the weapon around, and we are already there with a crit rate as we upgraded these hands over here, right? So we're potentially going to be just finishing up this set, just because of course it's the 2 set with the crit damage, and then we'll try to find a very good banner. I do have a mythic banner over here, which is going to be covered a little bit, but it does scale quite of the defensive stats we probably don't want that much of. We don't really have many other options. We have a banner over here with some defense, and just simply scaling the defense percentage as well. I will probably better move my camera over here right as we're looking to the gear that's potentially going to be there. Some defense, flat defense over here, not the greatest. Some resistance. This defense scaling is actually great, but we are trying to look for something that's probably going to be a little bit better. Some speed over here, which actually this one would probably be the best option. Nonetheless, it is a 6-star epic versus a 6-star mythic over here, although this is just like fully defensive stats, as we don't care about the attack, but the defense means extra damage for us, and I don't really know how to measure this comparison between the defense we're getting here with that scaling versus whatever the value of getting this extra speed would be. I guess her speed is alright-ish, and I'm probably going to be going for this instead, as, I don't know, this defense percentage is actually very juicy, man. It's a rough decision because we don't have any defense percentage. We're probably just going to be going for the mythical over here, I guess. I mean, it's a mythical overall, a lot more stats, and we do have a lot of defense on here. Let me move this back over there to the bottom left as we are switching around on the gear that we're upgrading. And we also have some flat defense and some HP, which is always going to be valuable. We're not really scaling her damage too much with this, and we'll potentially be looking for something else in the future. But anyways, I think this kind of makes the job for now. And it is also a part of the set over here, and we did fully fuse it up. We got some defense over here, and defense percentage still maxed out. Okay, that's decent enough, but it is also part of the protection set, which gets us a little bit of resistance. It's not the greatest, but I guess it's alright, better than nothing on an accessory. So as I was removing some of the other pieces just to see what the stats would be looking like, I did lose a lot of the crit rate, so I'm probably just going to be having to put some pieces where I can find some extra crit rate. This one over here, actually not the greatest. So this is kind of what I've ended up with before ascending anything. It's not the greatest gear by any means. I put together some Slayer gear for a little bit of crit rate and crit damage. I ended up finishing up the crit damage build over here with the protection set, of course, for on the banner, and that's just a Defiant for a little bit of extra defense and just defensiveness, because I really didn't have enough for the Savage set, which would be the best I could potentially do. With this whole setup, I'm not quite yet at 100% crit rate. I would be definitely loving to do so, and I could potentially do so if I do ascend these gloves into a little bit of crit rate, but I don't have enough of the resources just yet, so I would have to go ahead and farm some of that. That would potentially be what I want to be doing. Also, the chances of rolling into that would be very damn low. So this is the setup for now. I do already have a Malefic Talon on for extra crit damage. I do have the skills to be still leveled up. I got just one level on the A1. The masteries are finished up, as we already talked about. So she does have a soul level on, which I did put, what you call it, there we go. We do have the Heaven Cast Blessing over here for a little bit of extra damage for the numbers of buffs that they do have on them. So I want to be making sure that she has quite a few of those, so that scaling of the damage can be as high as possible. And now we're ready to try her out. I did forget she's only level 1, so we'll have to fix that first. Fish now fully maxed out. This is what her stats look like finally. Still need to be doing quite some upgrades on her, and the gear would be a lot better. But now let's actually put her to the test on some dragon. So I'm already running this setup where I do not have a poisoner, but I am going to be having some weaken over here, as well as some decreased defense. We have increased attack over here, as well as some speeding up on the aura. So this should be quite a decently quick run, probably quicker than what it was before. I did already try her on here on a previous setup, and it was quite not the same. Of course, she was not yet fully upgraded, so let's see how quickly we can actually get this thing done. She's gonna be doing quite some AoE over here, although we still do not have that weaken or any of the decreased defense running, because we probably should be running a Deacon Armstrong if possible. I still need yet to be upgrading it a little bit more, so it's gonna be taking a little while to actually munch through all these ads. And I did also realize that we are doing these on the Magic Affinity, which is probably the worst setup, as I am running 4 Spirit Affinity champions on this team. It took forever to clear through the trash, and we finally made it to the boss, and it's just being demolished already. Now, we do not have any poisoners, and we also are still, this is not the greatest damage build overall in general, but we should be able to take the AoE damage over here simply with a little bit of the extra healing we are getting from the Urex Arthur, as well as through that strength and buff. We're probably going to be taking the big hit over here. I don't think there's any extra turn going on. There we go, which is actually, we actually managed to break it. I don't know, the Morag isn't probably adding the most over here, as her skills are not yet added up. The ally attack isn't really doing the greatest, as it's barely ever actually triggering. We just need to be scaling that damage a lot more for her to actually be doing what she's supposed to, especially and ideally also leveling up all her skills. Yeah, overall, this ended up being a festival of weak hits. The War Master is really what's doing it for me in here. I do have, I think it's 4 War Masters altogether, except the Morag. So overall, that would probably be adding up so much damage in this scenario. But anyways, let's see what damage we ended up doing in this entire fight. And I do think it ended up being a little bit faster, even though it wasn't the greatest. Yeah, it's actually the best I could do. The Morag barely did anything, as it was the Alice here just like shredding everybody. Apparently, as the Ruella also was adding a little bit of single target damage mainly, the Morag really needs to be put into a setup where there's a lot of AoE damage to be done, and there is some spread out weakened defense. Anyways, let's see what we ended up doing in the clan versus clan, as we accumulated a bunch of points, and we are still probably not done yet, and we are up to 48,000. So if we want to be getting all the max rewards, as we are only in tier 1, we will be needing to get all the way up to 100,000. So we still need some work to be done there. If you've made it all the way up to the end of the video, I really encourage you to check out Aptoide. It's going to be allowing you to get yourself bonuses whenever buying anything in Raid Shadow Legends through Aptoide. Those bonuses can go from extra 10% of any amount of money you're spending in the game, all the way up to extra 35% of that much money. And the good thing about the bonuses is that you can then go ahead and use them to buy the things for you instead of actually using your real money. So you're just going to be able to save up in further purchases as you are buying things that you would otherwise be buying anyways in the game, right? You can find out how to set it up on your Android devices like a PC and BlueStacks emulator, or just your Android phone very easily by following the link down there in the description. And if you go ahead and use my code, which is going to be somewhere up here in the screen, and input it into the Aptoide wallet, which again will be all explained about how to set it up down there in that link, then you're going to be able to get an even bigger bonus from the get-go, flat 5% bonus for literally ever. Just put it in there, and here in the wallet you will also be able to see your purchase history as well as how much bonus you currently have accumulated. So that's literally it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye. See ya.